Shabbat Shalom. When I was 12 years old or so, my mom bought me a copy of My Name is Asher Lev by Chaim Potok. You may be familiar with the novel. It's basically a portrait of the artist as a young man, but make it Jewish, depicting the young Asher Lev as he pushes the boundaries of his Hasidic upbringing and grows into himself as an artist. In some ways, reading the book, I had the opposite experience of the protagonist, since his journey pushed him away from tradition. And for me, the book just basically made me want to be Orthodox. I wanted a Jewish experience that felt all-encompassing, and styling myself after Orthodox Jews felt to me then like the way to do that. Some of you know that this led me to a few awkward years of adolescence in which I unsuccessfully tried to grow payas, which always looked weird. I tried to keep kosher. I see that Cantor Breitzer has his copy there, or maybe it's his father's copy, but thank you, Cantor Josh. I tried to keep kosher for a little while too, but that didn't really work because my parents didn't really want me to do that. And occasionally, I wore a talit katan with tzitziot, the fringes that observant men wear underneath their clothes each day. I was most excited about the tzitziot, a chance to show off in my overwhelmingly non-Jewish public school in Michigan that I was special and different. Then again, I don't really think I needed tzitziot to come across as strange because I also tried on a Yiddish accent at school, and so be it. And besides which, the tzitzit didn't last that long because the fringes got all twisted up in the washing machine, and that was the end of that. Around that time, I became a bar mitzvah. And this week's portion, Parsha Shlach Lecha, was my Torah portion. It would also mark the moment when I'd receive my first big talis, like the ones we wear in synagogue. I chanted from the Torah that morning, the Maftir, the end of the Torah portion, where we find the locus classicus for tzitzit, the first commandment to attach a fringe to our garments. Speak unto the children of Israel and bid them make fringes on the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put on upon the fringes of the borders a thread of blue, v'haya lachem tzitzit, and it shall be to you for a fringe. Some of you may recognize these words from the Ve'ahavta, which Jews recite each day. Or you may not, since Reform Judaism initially got rid of this paragraph of the Ve'ahavta, largely because Reform Jews took a brief pause from wearing talises in the 19th and 20th centuries. But they also got rid of it because of what comes next. Uritem oto, look at it, and recall all the commandments of God, and observe them, so that you do not follow your heart and eyes in your lustful urge. Early Reform Jews weren't into this kind of thing. By and large, that's because they set aside ritual commandments, and in general, were somewhat open-minded about the lustful urge for things like shellfish and bacon. So it's no wonder that they removed it from our liturgy. But still, this part of the text makes it clear. Uritem oto, look at it. Look at these fringes and remember that you are Jewish. This too may be something that made early American and Reform Jews uneasy, given the assimilatory impulse of both identities. But in Tractate Menachot, the Talmud teaches that the mitzvah of tzitzit is actually equal to all other mitzvot, because looking at these fringes is supposed to remind us all of the rest of our obligations. Uritem oto, look at it. The commandment may as well be directed at the world. Look at us, these people who insist on being different. Technically, the commandment is only to attach tzitziot to four-cornered garments. And so when four-cornered garments fell out of fashion in the Middle Ages, Jews invented one, the talis, just so we could keep on demonstrating our Jewishness to the world. The word tzitzit itself comes from the root of tzitz, to look at, to peer, or to peep. There's a beach in Tel Aviv called Metzitzim Beach, literally the peeping beach, named for a famous film with Arik Einstein, in which Einstein may have missed the memo about not letting his eyes go astray. But it is with this etymology that Rashi compares this mitzvah of tzitzit to the verse from Song of Songs, where we read of a lover, meitzitz min hacharakim, peering through the lattice. The purpose of tzitzit, Rashi says, is to peer at our garments as if it is a witness of our uniqueness and our relationship to God. That same text from the Talmud suggesting that wearing tzitzit is equal to all other mitzvot says that seeing leads to remembering, and remembering leads to doing. And this, in Rashi's view, is the ultimate aim of the tzitzit. When we look at ourselves as Jews, surely we see all kinds of things that are uniquely Jewish. Recipes that we've inherited, beliefs we've adapted, politics we've advanced, names, idioms, jokes, and commitments that all are Jewish. Each of these are pieces of our identities that we weave together as Jews. But how frequently do we really look at them? How frequently do we walk through the world with all our attendant Jewish quirks and feel reminded that we're Jewish? Is it something that we think about when we come to Shabbat services? Probably. Are we reminded by something every day, every hour, or more, reminding us that we are Jews? It may be that we don't want to think about our Jewishness constantly, and I can't blame anyone for that. Judaism and Jewishness are only part of our multifaceted lives thanks to the Enlightenment, which gave us civil rights and access to the world. But still, as the commandment to wear tzitzit suggests, it is a value to remember that we are Jewish as much as possible. And whether or not we really want to attach fringes to our daily garments, there is still a value in looking at ourselves, perhaps looking at our lives as frequently as we can, and locating our Jewishness. Abraham ibn Ezra, the great Spanish grammarian, comments on this Torah portion to argue that though some people prefer to wear a prayer shawl during services, it is actually much more important for them to wear tzitzit during the rest of the day, in order to remember at all times that they are Jewish, not only when they are praying. Prayer, after all, is only a small fraction of Jewish experience. We need to remember our Jewishness when we pay our employees and when we encounter our loved ones and when we look at and engage with the physical world. If we choose not to wear tzitzit, or tzitziot, which I'm guessing applies to most of us, we may need other ways of reminding ourselves of our Jewishness. Since with or without tzitziot, it is the reminder that is important. The Maskilic poet Yehuda Leib Gordon wrote in his famous poem, "Awake My People," "Be a man in the streets and a Jew at home." This phrase is often misunderstood to mean that, or to be understood, that we should relegate our Jewishness to the private sphere. But in the broader context of his poem, Gordon intended to invite his audience, Jews who were isolated in their Jewishness, to explore the broader world, to blend Judaism with the rest of life. It seems for us, as American Reform Jews, our goal is the same, blending Judaism and an engagement with the world. But we are coming at it from an opposite starting point. We are not Asher Lev, casting off Orthodox strictures to find ourselves in a new world. We are denizens of modernity, living our lives in secular society, trying to figure out how to fit Judaism into our broadly secular lives. And in order to do that, we may come back to the tzitzit, not necessarily the literal fringes that have come to convey traditional Judaism, but things that we can observe, that we can look at, that remind us who we are as Jews, that make us observant Jews, perhaps. Pieces of our daily lives that recenter us within a Jewish context, while also living out our modern values. For some of us, it may be something we wear. For others, it may be something that we say or do or see. And even if each of us has a different answer, it's worth asking the question, what might tzitzit look like for you in your life? What can we do or look at each day to remember that we are Jews? And how might that daily reminder draw us back into the thick, full-throated Jewish experience that we seek? Shabbat Shalom.